Hey there, here's a quick note. This podcast contains general financial advice only. That means it's not specific to you, your needs, goals, or objectives, so don't act on the information until you've spoken with your financial advisor. You'll find our full disclosure, disclaimer, and link to our financial services guide in the show notes.
Hello, I'm Kate Campbell.
And I'm Owen Rask.
And you're listening to the Australian Finance Podcast.
A podcast where we talk about money, finance, investing, and all that good stuff.
We're helping you invest your time and money better one podcast episode at a time.
Yes, so please subscribe if you like the series. And don't forget you can find us on social media. We're on all the platforms. Kate, where can people go?
You can find us on Instagram and Twitter at Rask Australia. That's RASK Australia.
And I'm Owen Rask on Twitter. Or Owen Rask AU on Instagram. Beware the imitators. People like to copy us. Without further ado, let's jump into today's episode. Kate Campbell. G'day, mate. Welcome to the Australian Finance Podcast.
And we're back in Melbourne today.
Back in Melbourne. And we're here for Monique and Chill. Okay, Money and Chill. Monique, how you doing?
Hello, I'm great.
That's good. We're all recording remotely, so if there's any difference in audio, we apologize. We're all using 3 different mics and 2 different sets of headphones. We are, and I'm running on a Starlink today, so I'll probably drop in and out, but apologies for that. We're doing a wrap of FinFest. We were at FinFest in Sydney over the last week. We spent a whole week filming in Sydney, doing a bunch of stuff. We've got some investing courses coming out with the Australian Shareholders Association. Had a Effie Zahos on the show. We did a bunch of other great stuff. Kate, I think we should issue a reminder that Money and Chill is a bit more chilled out than our other episodes.
Money and Chill is our less serious episode where we just share some behind the scenes from the Rask team, what Owen, Monique and I have been up to, and some of our money hacks at the moment, things that we've tried and have actually worked in real life, not just something from a Google article, and a little bit of some of the content we're enjoying. Someone recently mentioned that they'd checked out some of the podcasts we'd mentioned and really liked them. So if you have any recommendations, feel free to send them in. This is a community show, so we're happy to take any input from you as well.
Yeah, if you want to get in touch with us, it's super easy. Head to any of the Rask websites. I know it seems like we have a gazillion of them, and we do. But if you just look in the menu, it says Ask a Question. You can use that to get in contact with us and leave your feedback. However, if we do have people go through that form, and they want us to get back to them, and there's no put part for your email address. So if you do want to actually get a reply from us, just find us on social media or send us an email via the contact page. But if you just want to give us feedback or a suggestion, please use that Ask a Question form. So yeah, we've got a lot to get through today. We obviously want to talk a bit about FinFest by Equity Mates, which is so much fun. It kind of, like, I don't know about you guys, but it definitely revitalized me a bit. And then we're going to give some money hacks. We've got one each. Mine is more like I regret that I didn't take my own advice, or at least be aware of this thing before it happened. So hopefully we can save other people heaps of money. And Kate's is obviously the best. If you listen to this and you want the best money saving / life hack in the world, you are going to get it. Stay tuned for this episode of Money and Chill. But maybe what we can do is start off with, ladies, just like FinFest. How did you find it? Maybe we'll go one at a time. Monique, why don't we start with you, Monique? I dare say the non-finance person. What did you think of it? Like, what did you think of FinFest?
It was great. It was like I'm usually used to like the music festival vibe, so it was very much that kind of vibe, but finance. And it was nice to see the two kind of like together. But it's also nice to just see people come up to you guys and just like genuinely like liking you and liking the work and what you say on the podcast. So it was just really nice to see that too.
Yeah, it was right. Like so if you weren't at FinFest in Sydney, basically I'll describe it. You can check it out on our Instagram, but basically it's at the Barangaroo Cutaway, which is kind of like this gigantic exhibition center inside the ground. And so think of like a soccer field with 20-meter high roof, 30-meter high roof, and just concrete, because it's cut out of the ground, obviously, all around you. At one end, you had the big stage, and then throughout, you had like a bucking bull, some pop-up stores, and you had like igloos, like domes, I think you'd call them, and each one was like different brands. And so it was heaps of fun. And you're right, Monique. Like Kate gave away, I should say. I'm not taking the credit for this. Kate gave away a bunch of her psychology of money books. I think we've said this on the show, Kate, but I don't know if have we said this on the show that you're giving away 1,000 personal finance books? You're on a mission.
Yeah, well, this was a 10-year goal, though it might happen a bit sooner. But I wanted to, because books, I've seen the difference they've made in people's lives, especially personal finance books, not the fantasy books I love. But yeah, I want to give away 1,000 personal finance books over 10 years. And I'm this year the book Psychology of Money. So I had over 100 copies. I gave away about 25 or 30 over the past week to people. So hopefully everyone enjoys that book as well. But and we gave away quite a few books at our a small dinner we hosted on Thursday night. So that was a lot of fun as well. But if you do want a copy of The Psychology of Money, stay tuned because I do have a few more copies in the office.
Yeah, we actually, it's worth saying, Kate, that we actually asked all people. So we did our presentation, you and I, for 30 or so minutes, which was Get Rich Slow. Shout out to Perla as well. And that we know that's where a bit of inspo comes from. It was heaps of fun, like so good to see everyone. It was really weird though. So just so you know, if you weren't there, when you're in the rooms, in these domes, like the Magellan one, I think was the biggest one, which is where we were. When you're inside these domes, everyone wears headphones. And so it's like a silent disco for music festival / finance. And you make a gesture to everyone to put on their headphones. And it was really, I don't know if you got this kind of vibe, Kate, but I was like, you know, when we told everyone to put on their headphones, you just see like 300 people put on their headphones and then it kind of just goes quiet. And there's the two of us up on stage.
Everyone went into podcast mode. I don't know about you, but when I'm listening to a podcast and walking, I'm often like in the zone and sort of serious, taking it in. So even if I might laugh at bits or pieces, but I'm in the zone, I'm listening to it by myself. And someone described it to me as it was kind of like listening to your favorite comedian, but on Netflix rather than live. That kind of experience because you didn't have the crowd interaction because everyone was just in the zone with the headphones on. So it was a bit different for us.
Yeah, and then it totally was. And that's such a good way to describe it. It was interesting about this is that because there's the main stage, for people that weren't there, there's the main stage which was really loud. And so the igloos, the dome things kind of created its own little environment. And then you needed the headphones to block out the other noise that was going on in the background so you could tune in. And it was just, it's like really unique in that sense. But the problem that we had was there was so many people that wanted to come in. I ended up doing 3 prezos that day, which was lovely. But the 2 after that were in a smaller dome. And one of them, I think there was a little bit of a mix up with timings, but heaps of people wanted to get in. And so they were all just standing around the dome, seeing if they could kind of like hear, because there wasn't enough headphones to go around. But it was so good. And afterwards we said, if you come up to us with a money hack, you can get a free book. So it's a really simple transaction. It was like, you bring something over to us and we'll give you the book. And there were some really cool hacks. I don't know if you guys remember any of them. I've got a few.
Yeah, I know we heard a few different fuel saving apps. A lot of people were on the automation bandwagon, which was cool to see. Some people were saving up for things like their emergency fund or holidays with friends and putting a bit of accountability there. I don't know, what else do we hear?
Yep. There was one woman said that she doesn't do the automation herself. She gets her employer to do it for her. So this would be like if you get your wage and you're like, I want to pay my mortgage and I have like $200 a month for my electricity bill. Say if your mortgage was like $2,000, I don't know. So it's $2,200 all up. She would get that exact amount sent from the employer to a different bank account and it just automates. So she doesn't even see the money. So this is like massive, like denial of access. You cannot get into it. And another one, which was really interesting, was basically if you've paid off your HECS, you don't tell your employer. So what you do is you just keep that box ticked on your employment form. And obviously, if for those of you that have a HECS bill from university, you'll know that you get extra tax withheld to cover that bill, to slowly pay it down. And he was saying that basically he ended up with a $10,000 tax return because he ended up just leaving that box ticked and the extra tax was just being pulled out and pulled out and pulled out. But because he didn't have a HECS bill, it kind of got refunded to him. So I'd never heard that happening before, but that was kind of cool. And then he's like an investment group of 4 ladies. Do you remember that one, Kate? Like where they, the 4 ladies are each put in this requires trust. This requires lots of trust. But they put in $500. Was it a fortnight each?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, so $500, and there's 4 of them, so that's $2,000. And there's every fortnight they do this, but then what happens is one of them gets the $2,000, and then they go to the next person, and the next person, and the next person. So it's kind of like trusting your friends or your family to pool your money together, and then someone gets that, and it kind of forces you all to keep saving, which is really cool and feels like you're getting ahead too. You'd have to make sure you trust the other person.
Yeah, I think the cool thing was that everyone's were quite different, and everyone finds a different way that works for them to just make their finances a little bit easier or save money in a particular area, which was really cool to see.
Yeah, totally, it was. And I think we just got a lot of people coming up to us just trying to share something. Like some people had never heard of the show before, but they just happened to attend our speech, and they come in and they just come over. They were very nervous to share their money thing. I remember one young lady come over. She was like, I don't do this very much. And I could barely hear her. She was very nervous, and she was like, she come up with something, and it was automation actually. And it's just so lovely to meet people. So Kate, how many people did we have at FinFest to give people a sense of it?
Well, I heard that they sold over 1,700 tickets and had about 80% of those ticket sales through on the day at some point, that's a huge number. I don't know if I can do that maths, but you can probably do the maths.
No, I'll just say big number. No, it was good fun.
A big number for a finance festival that had never been run before. And it was mostly an under 40 demographic, which was awesome, but there were quite a few older investors. We met some older women from the Australian Investors Association, which was really cool because they're massive on getting other people involved in investing, even if they're a little bit further along in their journey, and the connection there. And I think that was the biggest takeaway for me is a lot of people just came to see other people talking about money and investing, even if they hadn't started yet themselves, because like just seeing other people in that room, having these conversations and being prepared to ask the questions and be in a venue where it's not just fun, like there's also finance happening as well, was really cool to see.
Yeah, Monique, I'm going to put you under the pump here. I'm going to turn it over to you. What was like your highlight from the day? Like if you looked at like all the different stages, all the different presentations, all the different things, what was like one thing that caught your attention? Like you're coming into this first kind of finance thing. What was something you're like, that's kind of cool?
Well, I kind of liked how they split it up into like the beginner, intermediate, advanced type talks, because then you could choose like what was for you. So that was really like obviously well planned out, and it was just smart to do that kind of thing.
Yeah, you didn't. Did you get on the bucking bull? Did you?
No, not at all. That would have been a disaster.
I think that was the point. Most people that were on that were falling off that I saw.
Yeah.
Of course,
I didn't see anyone stay on for more than a couple of seconds. Like,
no.
It's probably fitting for the times too, with like the stock market being very volatile, things going on in the economy, people are worried. It's probably like a fitting analogy for how people feel right now. They're just getting bucked off the side, So yeah, it was a good bit of fun, and we met heaps of people. We met people that we hadn't actually met in person. So we'd spoken to them via Instagram, Twitter, via email, even on the podcast. Like, I don't know, Kate, had you had so let's just switch gears a bit from FinFest. That was on Saturday, which is awesome. So Bryce, Ren, Simon, Emily, the team at Equity Mates, just unbelievable work. You guys are amazing. But we also did an investing event on Thursday night, just a very intimate one with about 50 people. And of those 50, about 40 of them were people that appeared on the podcasts or people from our industry. And we hadn't met so many of those people in person. We've done podcasts with them time and time again, but never met them. So people don't know that because of COVID. Like Danielle Ekuye, Kate, I don't think you interviewed her years ago. You didn't do it in person, did you?
No, I think I've interviewed her remotely about 3 or 4 times over the last 5 years, but never met in person. So that was fantastic to actually put physical faces to people we'd become friends with online.
Yeah, and then we got to meet people like Chloe Stokes from Forager, and heaps of the Investors podcast guests who hadn't been on the show before, people from Perla, people from Global X, and people from like all over that really, due to COVID and just being in different cities, we just hadn't had the chance to meet them, which was heaps of fun. Yeah. And Kate and I kind of just like strung the event together on Thursday night, but it was so good just to have people in the room and just chatting and just networking as well. It was really lovely. And just on that too, if you feel like you've missed out on FinFest or you feel like you've missed out on one of these other events that we've done or gone to, if you're in Melbourne, please keep listening to the podcast over the next couple of months, because we are going to announce something. We're going to do something in Melbourne, probably, and I'm going to try and push this less than 2 months away. So it's all kind of like under wraps because we're still putting it together. But it's going to be our own little event. It's going to be a little wholesome event about money and finance, a chance to meet people. And it was so good to see people in Sydney say that, hey, I'd fly down for that, or hey, I'd come down for this. So I'd be like, that was just really nice. So keep your ears to the podcast and keep your eyes on social media, because we will be announcing that. It will be smaller than FinFest, so I imagine tickets will go very, very quickly. So please, it'd be wonderful to meet you if you are listening. We would love to meet you in person. It actually, I said to you guys, that was the highlight of my career the last week. Just getting out and meeting people was so lovely. So totally, it just rocked. So guys, do you want to get to some hacks? Do you want to get some money hacks?
Yeah, I think so. I think Monique has to lead us because she's about to go to Europe.
Yeah. And happy birthday, Monique. Happy birthday.
Well, happy birthday to you too, Owen.
Yeah.
They've both got their birthday on the same day, day I won't name, but a mystery day this week.
Yes, we do. It's a day this week. Monique and I just happen to share the same birthday.
Yeah, what a coincidence.
We've got some money hacks people can take away from this episode. I think it's all a bit of fun as we usually do. So Monique, maybe we start with you. You're hitting the road, you're going to Europe. What can you tell us other than, giving us envy for you going away?
Well, so I'm leaving on Friday, I think, yes.
Yep.
I've booked my tickets like probably 2 months ago, and I was tossing up between Singapore Airlines or Qantas or whatever. Qantas was like so much more expensive than Singapore Airlines. As you could probably tell if you've been looking to go away, flights are ridiculous at the moment. So then I looked around a little bit. Singapore Airlines was a little bit cheaper, probably $500 more cheaper, but with a 10-hour layover. And you look at that, you're like, oh, that's gross. Then I was like, what if I make that a part of the actual holiday? Because I know Changi, I think it's called Changi Airport, Singapore. It's the biggest airport in the world. It's got a butterfly enclosure. It's got a waterfall. I think it's got a theme park. I'm like, well, 10 hours is a great stopover for a theme park. So I went for the cheaper flights, saved a bit of money, and now I've kind of changed my mindset to be Singapore is now part of the holiday, or Singapore Airport at least.
So a mindset shift. Where does it? So you fly to Singapore.
Yeah.
Then where do you go after that?
Then to Paris.
Okay. Because
wow.
Right. so you could potentially, I don't know what time you're leaving, but you could potentially sleep on you probably wouldn't sleep on the first thing, but you'd get there, then you'd have a day out with the butterflies and the roller coasters.
Exactly. Yep.
Then you'd sleep on the flight over to Paris and then kind of wake up in Paris.
Yep.
That's
pretty
cool.
much. Yeah.
So
that's
it's
the
a
plan
mind shift.
anyway. Yeah.
Mind shift. A mindset shift. There we go.
Mind shift probably works on.
A mind shift set. Yes. So that's kind of cool. So you save money, but it's all about your perspective, the way you do that. Yeah. Cool. Because I would definitely be if this was Brunei Airways and you were stopping in Brunei, I'd be like, oh. Ouch.
No. You have to definitely make sure it's a good airport to do this.
Yeah.
I would have definitely gone for the more expensive flight if it was, Brunei or something.
Yeah. You said in the last Money and Chill, I think you said that you also prepaid a lot of your expenses, which was kind of cool. So on the one hand, you're prepaying expenses or tickets to events and that sort of stuff. And on the other hand, you've saved money through the airfares because you're taking this layover, and it's in a place you want to go anyway. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I've also like prepaid for all the tickets. Like I'm going to go to Moulin Rouge. I'll go to the catacombs in Paris and stuff. So I've already prepaid for those tickets while I'm here in Australia. So then when I'm over there, it's kind of like I feel like I'm spending less money. Not really in the end, but it just, again, a mindset thing. It makes you feel less like guilty, I guess, for spending so much money in one chunk.
Yeah, so good. That's good. That's really, really cool. When everyone says catacombs, I just think of honeycomb. I don't know why.
Tasty.
Tasty, yeah, definitely.
No, I like that, Monique, because I know you've mentioned in the past that you've felt it's hard to spend large amounts of money and you often feel guilty. So now you're like using your psychology for good, so you can actually really enjoy that experience when you're over there and not having to pay for it on the spot.
Yeah, exactly. It just makes me feel so much better for not spending like $2,000 plus like in one chunk when I'm over there because it's already done.
Yeah. So it's basically you've just got spending money, right? Because you've got all the big things done.
Yeah.
Which
now
is super cool.
I can buy clothes, I can buy shoes, and not feel guilty.
Yeah. Cool. Is there anything in particular?
Look forward to
anywhere
some new outfits when you get back.
I was going to say anywhere you want to shop or anything you want to buy in particular.
I kind of, when I'm there, I find like the cool little boutique places. We'll definitely come back with at least 5 pairs of shoes, I reckon, because I'm also going to Spain, so they make the best shoes, in my opinion.
And let's not polarize the people. Yeah. Okay, here we go.
I love Spanish shoes. But so I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, Spain also is good for a Tempranillo if you like your red blends. Ooh. So there you go. Yeah. If you're into red wine, give it a crack. Cool. So that's all about like travel, saving money, mental accounting, and so on and so forth. Mine is one that I kind of cottoned on to when we were in Sydney, which was about a week too late. But inside the Raise app, and a lot of you will know this, inside the Raise app, which is that Roundup app where it invests in ETFs for you, this does like loose change and whatever. They were doing this particular rewards program where if you booked accommodation through so you can go into the Raise app, right? And then there's a link from the Raise app in the rewards section that says booking.com, which is the big website where you book accommodation and travel and whatever. And anyway, when you book through that link, you could have got, I think it was 8 or 9% of the value of your stay back invested in the Raise app. So basically your money, right? And so when we went to Sydney for the company, for our trip, and it cost us, quite a few $1,000s to stay in a hotel in Sydney because it's so busy there at the moment, I worked out that we could have got back around $480 into our Raise app. So if I just booked through booking.com via the Raise app, we would have got that back and we would have paid the same price as they ended up paying through the hotel anyway. And so that bonus has now dropped. So I think it's a little bit lower. Like I can just look it up, but I think it's back to around about 4%. Here we go. It's 5.6%, and that ends on the 26th of December. So it says shop with booking.com and earn 5.6% of your purchase price invested back into your Raise account once you have completed your stay. So really simple. If you're going to book through booking.com, just do it via the Raise app and you'll get 5.6% back into the app. So, I mean, there may be some other way that they make money from this, but I thought that was just really neat because I was going to book anyway. So it made sense.
And if it's something you're already spending money on, like those websites like Cash Rewards, I've seen booking.com on there as well. So the money comes straight into your bank account and then you could actually direct that specifically into your savings account or your travel fund or something like that.
But I mean, that only really applies to people that are traveling, people that are staying in a hotel, Kate. We need something. We need one for the people, Kate. We need a money tip, a life hack. We need something. If only someone knew of something, the ultimate way to save money and to live a better life at the same time. Kate, can you help us out?
Well, you've really, really put me under the pump here, Owen. But my money tip for the month is to buy a meat thermometer. So if you're someone that cooks things that involve a meat item, typically something that will give you a disease if you don't cook it properly, like chicken or pork. Having a meat thermometer, which I acquired about a month ago, has been a life changer, because usually my chicken would be cooked to smithereens because I was terrified I was going to give myself a disease. So I would truly overcook it, and it would get really dry and it wouldn't taste great, and then I didn't like what I cooked. So
But you'd be
buying
safe.
meat, but I would be safe, and that is the important lesson here. Be safe. So I bought a meat thermometer. I googled how the temperature pork has to be at when it's cooked. I got 2 for $12 packs of sausages from the supermarket, and I cooked the best pork sausages of my life, and I was very impressed with myself. And then about 4 meals later of sausages over about 3 days, I had enough of sausages for a while, but I did save a lot of money in the process, and I'll have the meat thermometer for many meals to come.
Well. This is incredible. And what is your preferred meat thermometer? Like, do you have a particular brand that
I just
that you
picked
go
the
with?
best
Head Chef?
rated one that was Australian on Amazon. That was going to arrive the next day. That was my tip.
Okay.
Use Amazon reviews for good.
Yeah.
The
I
good
like
one
it.
had over 10,000 reviews, I think. So, that's been a game changer. And now I've realized that even buying things like meat packs are a little bit less scary from the market, because now I know I can cook it properly, and I'm not going to end up with all this wasted food. So,
Here's a quick question for you guys. Let's say you have chicken tonight. Like, you cook some sort of like chicken breast, and then you put it in the fridge. How many days have to go by afterwards before you think, probably shouldn't eat that? I'm sure there's a scientific answer to this, but I'm
2 or
3 days,
3?
and I'm like, 3 days, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh,
It probably
Yeah.
gets to the 4th day, and if there's still something, I'm like, maybe if I like nuke it in the microwave, it might be okay. I'm willing to take this chance. But 3 days probably.
yeah. I feel like there's got to be someone,
Yeah.
a dietitian or someone on the call can please let us know how long after you cook chicken can you eat it? Because some people say, I prepare, lunches on a Sunday night with chicken in it, and I have it throughout the week. I'm like, but Friday is like days later. Like, how does this work? Anyway, meat thermometer
Unless they
from
freeze
Kate.
it.
Unless they freeze, yeah, that sounds like it makes sense.
I used to know someone that would meal prep their scrambled eggs for 7 days on a Sunday, and that didn't seem right to me.
Scrambled eggs. Surely they just like fall apart after 7 days. Like, that's cool. Anyway, if you do that, congratulations. Wonderful. Let us know why we're wrong. But so from Kate, we had a meat thermometer. Not only does it bring more satisfaction to your life, makes you safe, and probably helps you keep your meat in the fridge because you think this is actually cooked properly. No, I didn't just char it. Mine was Raise Rewards, or any type of rewards thing. Kate mentioned cash rewards. There's heaps of others in Macquarie Marketplace, the CBA one as well. I don't know the name of that. But heaps of these banks are coming out with them. And then also, Monique was saying, treat a layover in a good airport. It's not the worst thing. You might save $500, and you can go and some shopping in some of those places. I know Hong Kong's got some great shopping and plenty of
You
things
just
to do
don't
as
want
well.
to do $500 worth of shopping, and then you may as well have got the other flight to begin with.
This is true. This is very true. So
watch out, Nick. You're going to have to tell us how much you spent on your 10-hour outing.
I'll keep a spreadsheet. I'll let you know.
Yeah. We expect live updates feeding straight into the podcast. Thank you very much.
Nick's going to make a reel. That's her job.
So, other than that, we've got obviously a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. Monique's taking off for 3 weeks to Europe. Fantastic, good on you. So we just have some things going on behind the scenes. Those include, we've just come off a huge week of filming in Sydney, and I was in Noosa for a few days before that. Very lucky to be up there while it rained the whole time. But we were in Noosa and we're recording for the Australian Investors Podcast. That's the yellow podcast in your feed. So this is the blue one. Look for the yellow one if you want to go to the next level with your investing. Drew and I sat down and talked to heaps of different people. I was telling you ladies that some of the episodes are probably like an 8 or a 9 out of 10 in terms of difficulty. So some of the episodes that have come up will probably be a bit hard. For context, like what we talk about here, on that spectrum might be like a 2 to a 5. So they're very difficult, those episodes. But then there are some great episodes that are coming up that are just fun. Like we have Money and Chill here on the Australian Finance Podcast, we have something called 2 Cents, spelt with the letter 2 and then cents, like SENSE, 2 Cents, over on the Investors Podcast. That's where we answer questions. And then, Kate, we've got the 12-part starter pack on the Australian Business Podcast. That's the green one. It's a recent podcast, and it's been overwhelming, the response to that. We've got over 2,000 students enrolled in the free business course. If you're thinking about starting a business, you run a business, or you are in a small business and you just want to know how they work, incredible. Go on a journey with us with the Australian Business Podcast and leave us a review. We've already got so many great people that have come on that show. So just unbelievable support. So thank you for everyone that has transitioned across and listened to that. Finally, Kate, we did the ETF mini-series on the Australian Finance Podcast right here, and it was awesome. We had so many people reach out and say, wow, this is so good. I just think...
Who knew favorites could be so popular?
Who knew? Chocolate plus ETFs. Maybe if we can somehow do the chocolate ETF, that would be so cool. But yeah, we've done that. We've got Kate's just jumped off a podcast with Simran Kaur from It's Girls That Invest, right? Is that correct?
Yeah.
And she's just come out with a book under the same name, I think.
Yes, Girls That Invest as well. Nice and easy to find.
Yep. We've spoke to Effie Zahos. We've spoken to so many great people on the show. So there's heaps coming down the pike when it comes to the Australian Finance Podcast. And as I said, please keep your ears to the podcast, because over the next couple of months, if you're in or around Melbourne, or if you want to fly down on a Friday night and have a few drinks with us, we would love to entertain you, to get you in the room with a few hundred people who are thinking the same way. So keep your ears out for that. There won't be that many tickets. So please, if you do see it come up on your Instagram, your Twitter, or wherever you get your Rask content, just jump at it and just get it. Tickets won't be that expensive, just so you know. They're not going to be, $100 or anything crazy like that. So just keep that up. And finally, Kate, what have you been listening to? What have you been reading that everyone can take away from today's episode? Maybe some other content that they can go and find now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've been after we did our podcast on the 8 ways to buy happiness the other week, I've been rereading Happy Money by Elizabeth Dunn. So that's been great. I've got it in physical and audiobook form, so I've kind of been switching between the two, which has been an interesting experience. But that's really good.
Okay, just to interrupt, but there are 2 different books, right? So people should be aware that there's the Happy Money by someone else, and which is good as well. But then there's the Happy Money
by Ken Honda and Happy Money by Elizabeth
Dunn, and then she's got
Dunn and Michael Norton.
Yeah. So the one by Elizabeth Dunn is the one you're talking about.
Yes, I have read both, but both quite a long time ago. So I know the Elizabeth Dunn's a researcher, so there's a lot of studies mentioned in that book. I don't think the same about Happy Money, but I haven't read it for a while, so I will have to catch up.
Yep, cool. So that's one. That's great. And what else?
Yeah, so I think I'll report back once I've finished that, because there's a lot of really interesting insights, and it goes a lot more in depth than the research paper I read recently. And the other thing I wanted to mention is Emma at the Broke Generations podcast of the same name, The Broke Generation. That is a fantastic show, especially if you're just getting started and you really want to work on the money story and mindset and behavior part of your finances before you get to things like budgeting and shares and investing. I think that's a really good starting point, even for a friend who's finding it a bit overwhelming. Emma's a very rational, she talks you through everything. She talks you through, I think she's studying financial psychology as well overseas, but she's very relatable and provides her podcast is really friendly, and you feel kind of like you're chatting to a friend. So I think that's a really good starting point for a lot of people if you are finding going straight to investing related content a bit overwhelming.
Yeah. So some good recs there. There'll be links in the show notes for all of those things, just so you know. But yeah, we've got a lot to do on the Australian Finance Podcast. So thank you for your ongoing support. I think that was the big thing that I took away from Saturday. It was incredible to meet you all there in Sydney. And so that's why we want to do it again. We want to do it in Melbourne, and who knows where we can go from there. So please, thank you, and keep listening. If you are a Rask Core member and you've joined, thanks for that. Like, you can send us messages every day inside Rask Core in the community forum. I'm answering questions every day. Kate's in there sharing the podcast and all of that. So if you want to keep the conversation going, please jump into Rask Core. It's $9.99 a month. Cancel anytime. And that's it from us, guys. So Monique, have a wonderful trip. Europe, here
Thank
you come.
you.
Better watch out. Paris, better watch out. Here she comes. So all the best with your trip, and thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. I'm so excited, and I'll see you guys when I get back.
You have to report back. All the money-saving hacks from
Yep.
Europe. Yep.
Exactly.
The pressure,
Yep.
Monique.
Oh gosh.
Yep. And Kate, Kate, thank you for joining us on this episode of the Australian Finance Podcast.
It's been great to catch up.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Australian Finance Podcast, where our mission is to improve the financial futures of all Australians. If you'd like to learn more, create a free account at rask.com.au/account to download free episode workbooks, bonus resources, and take our amazing free personal finance courses.
You can also join our online community by following the link in the description. If you enjoyed the show, what we'd love is for you to leave us a snappy review on iTunes. And you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Rask Australia. Kate and I are also on both of those channels. Finally, if you have any feedback, suggestions for episodes or guests to come on the show, or you just have a question for us, shoot us an email at podcast@rask.com.au.